Have you ever been hit with a negative online review? By the end of this video, you're going to learn how to respond and what your legal options are to deal with it. Hi, I'm Aaron Mink, attorney and founder of Mink Law, the nation's leading law firm when it comes to helping doctors and medical organizations deal with negative online reviews. If you own a medical practice, you know that one of the most frustrating things to deal with are negative online reviews. Gone are the days of perfect 10 out of 10 or 5 out of 5 online ratings. When you get a negative review, because let's face it, everyone gets a negative online review, you need to know how to respond and the options you have to deal with it. At Mink Law, we've helped hundreds of physicians and medical organizations deal with negative reviews. And today, I'm going to share some of our best tips and practices. I'm also going to talk about what options are available to have reviews taken down and how much lawsuits and other legal services typically cost to deal with these types of issues. Now let's get started. First off, let's take a quick minute to talk about how important online reviews are and the challenges that they present for medical practitioners. It's no secret that online reviews are more important than ever for every business, and the medical profession is no exception. Consumers everywhere read and rely on online reviews. Given how commonplace reviews are, it is surprising that they present such a legal and ethical minefield for physicians. Patient privacy protections greatly restrict how doctors can respond to reviews. Patients who leave reviews generally aren't reviewing doctors in meaningful ways about their treatments, and negative reviews can be particularly harmful to physicians' reputations. When a patient alleges that a doctor harmed them, whether by a medical error, offensive bedside manner, or a billing mistake, it can be extremely damaging to a doctor's reputation. So what can you do? I'm going to share that with you now. Let's talk about what you should do first. If you get a bad review, take the following steps. Call the patient. Listen. Don't talk. Be prepared to apologize and provide an appropriate remedy. Speed is key. Reaching out within 24 hours or less is critical to increase your chances of getting the review removed. Don't text the patient. Don't do an email. Don't post a public response online. Call them. Putting things in writing should be avoided. It's less personal, it can lead to things being misconstrued, and sometimes it can make a bad situation even worse. The person making the call should be the patient's doctor or the owner of the practice. When speaking to the patient, it's important to be as empathetic as possible. A legal tactic that world-renowned mediators use that is very effective is called looping for understanding. This is an iterative, active listening technique in which the person listening reflects back what they believe the person talking said to see if their understanding is accurate. Using this technique can make a patient feel understood, can effectively de-escalate a high conflict situation, and provide opportunities for resolution. Regardless of whether you're able to resolve a situation or not, if you only remember to do just one thing and nothing else, just make sure to always apologize. In addition to understanding what you should do, knowing what you shouldn't do is even more important. Here's a list of things that you shouldn't do. Don't get defensive, don't use insults, don't make excuses, don't take things personally, don't respond online publicly in all caps and get pulled into a back and forth battle with the patient, and most importantly, do not violate patient confidentiality. This last point is so important that if you only take away one thing from this video, remember this last piece of advice. It does not matter if a review is good or bad. Do not respond online publicly. Just don't do it. Unlike typical businesses that can respond to online reviews however they want, physicians are extremely limited in what they can say when responding to a review. This is because of ethical rules that make patient-physician communications confidential, and because of HIPAA, the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. Under HIPAA, the only types of responses that are allowed are generic statements about general practices and procedures. And that's it. You cannot mention or discuss any patient information or say anything that remotely confirms or acknowledges that a reviewer is a patient. HIPAA regulations are so strict, you're not even allowed to say a patient's name when responding to a review. Under HIPAA, a patient's name is considered protected health information. Using a patient's name when responding to a review is a HIPAA violation. Look, I get it, it's not fair. But just because a patient talks about their treatments online, this does not provide permission for a physician to be able to respond publicly. The only way that information can ever be shared is if a signed release is obtained from your patient. If you do not have a signed release authorizing disclosure, you simply do not have the right to respond publicly online. Given how restrictive regulations are, my advice is that you should not publicly respond to online reviews at all. If attempting to resolve a negative review directly with your patient doesn't work, the next thing I recommend is attempting to get the review removed from the website where it's posted. You can do this by reporting the review to the website for a terms of service violation. All the review websites, including Google, Yelp, Healthgrades, and others, have rules that users must follow to post a review. If a website agrees that a review violates one of their rules, they will delete it. Convincing a site to remove a review for a terms of service violation is not always an easy task. Sometimes it's very easy to get things taken down, other times not so much. It depends heavily on the content of a review and the policies of the website. One thing you should never do is threaten a website legally. Under a law called Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, review websites are generally immune from all civil liability relating to their user reviews. Threatening a website or attempting to argue or bully them will only decrease your chances of getting a positive result. As a physician, your reputation is one of the most valuable assets that you have. Taking measures to protect your online reputation over the long term is simply just a cost of doing business. Now, I am not recommending that you hire an attorney to file a lawsuit or send out threatening letters every time a negative review is published. In fact, if a review is truthful, accurate, and fairly describes a patient's experience or opinion, that's completely legal. Pursuing aggressive legal action in these types of circumstances is obviously not the best course of action to take. But you still have legal options to deal with these types of problems. Persuasive legal tactics in these types of situations include things like coming up with better reasons and arguments as to why a website should remove a review, or sending a patient a formal legal offer and agreement to rectify a dispute that includes a requirement that the review is taken down. These things can work. Now, if a patient posts a negative review that is serious in nature, meaning the review contains allegations of malpractice, harm to a patient, unethical business practices, harassment, racism, sexism, or anything of that nature, more aggressive legal action is not only appropriate, it's likely necessary. Seek legal help immediately. Other situations where cease and desist letters and lawsuits are appropriate are if a review contains information that is false and defamatory, if a patient using a review as a means to threaten, harass, or extort, or if a review is fake, meaning the review is published by someone who you do not sincerely believe is an actual patient, like a former employee or competitor, or someone is publishing multiple bad reviews under different names and aliases. It's important to look at every situation on a case-by-case basis to decide whether pursuing legal action is a good decision or not. Speaking with an experienced legal professional is critical to find out what your options are and what next steps should be. After talking to hundreds of physicians and medical practice owners about these issues, one of the biggest questions that always comes up is how much this is going to cost. For lawyers, this is not an easy question to answer in a straightforward manner. As any lawyer will tell you, buying legal services is not like buying a house or a car. Every legal matter is unique, and there are dozens of unpredictable factors that can affect costs. However, what I can tell you, to try and break through this ambiguity is how much lawsuits and legal services can cost based on the actual accounting data and experience that my firm has helping thousands of clients with online reviews over the past decade. Let's talk hard numbers. In cases where no litigation is required, we are typically able to successfully resolve most matters at an average cost of around $5,600. In cases where litigation is required, meaning we have to go to court and sue someone, on average, lawsuits handled by our firm cost around $15,000 to $16,000 to obtain a successful result. Now, keep in mind, these are averages. The average lawsuit we handle usually winds up being uncontested or settles pretty quickly once the case is filed. The average non-litigation matters we handle typically involve multiple reviews and can take a few months to fully resolve. Regardless of what the situation is and what options are best for your situation, determining how much a case may cost and what your budget is are really important questions that you should figure out first before getting started. Well, that's all the time that I have. I hope I was able to answer all the questions that you have about how to deal with negative reviews and what legal options are available to help. If you have questions or are looking for legal help, you can call my firm for a free legal consult at 216-373-7706. You can also head over to minklaw.com and submit a contact form and check out the materials in our Legal Resource Center, where we've published articles, videos, guides, and other pieces of content that provide answers to the most pressing questions physicians have on this subject. This is Aaron Mink from Mink Law. Have a good one.